Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. So pumped about this interview. I saw a post on social media that friend Bill Munkacsy was launching a tutoring business. I think former coworker of mine, Megan, put it on her Facebook page, and I jumped in the comment section and I said, I want to talk about this man. I want to celebrate this man. I want to champion his business and give him props. That was, I think, Monday afternoon. Not even 48 hours later, a guy that is, I think, a household name. He's done 2 interviews on this show. He's been quoted in media publications here in Central Virginia, is back in the house. He's here to take questions, answer any perspective, but most importantly, we're going to champion a man who is pursuing an entrepreneurial endeavor. I was in this position 15 years ago. I know the challenges and the potential, tribulations that are on the horizon, and I can't wait to break them down with Bill. Judah, why don't we go to the studio camera and let's welcome Bill Munkacsy to the show. You got a lot of people watching.
Great.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on, and it's nice to be here again. I thought our discussions about 6 months ago were quite fruitful, and I'm glad to be here to discuss education and current issues in education. So thanks so much for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Albert Graves watching the program. He's got kids in the Albemarle County school system. Viewers and listeners, you can give Bill props or ask him a question by putting your comments in the feed. I'll relay them live on air. Let's start with the business. You're a small business owner. We're at that point yet?
I'm just starting it. I'm looking to help kids. I really believe in the transformative process of education and want to genuinely help kids, develop their knowledge, develop their tools for understanding knowledge, and through those tools, understand the world better, and understand phenomena better. And I feel that mathematics is a great vehicle for that. There's an infinite number of facts in the world, and what people really need are tools, right? They need tools to understand these things, understand in a broader context, even a tool to understand what facts they should be learning, right? All this I feel is embedded in mathematics, and I have a huge passion for it. I find my kids, my students feel that too, and I do my best to understand what they understand and then help them to develop that understanding so that they can, look at things and use those tools to understand what's happening, and I think at its heart, the heart of a mathematician is someone who can look at things around them and go through a logical process of understanding it, and math's just a great vehicle for learning that approach to seeing the world. So that's what I'm offering. I'm offering 12 years of experience teaching in public high schools and middle school. I know the curriculum backwards and forwards. I can teach elementary through high school. I can help with SATs, GREs. I can also develop curriculum for homeschools. I'm happy to help with that, and not just act as a support. I can enrich. I can, whatever's happening in the classroom, I can extend, and I'd also be very excited to offer a classical education in something like Euclidean geometry, which I can also do. So, if that's something that interests you, or you feel the need for extra support for your kid, my website, ZetaMathTutoring.com.
What is it again?
Zeta, Zeta, mathtutoring.com. It's the name of my business, Zeta Math Tutoring. And, my contact information's there. Or you can email me at ZetaMathTutoring@gmail.com, and I'm happy to talk to you about your students' particular needs. So
I love it. I absolutely love what you're doing right here. Walk us through the emotional and the mental side of getting to this point. Because a lot of folks, as you know, as we know, it's not just a light switch you just flick and be like, I'm ready to start a business. Walk us through the flip book of the emotions.
It's
Is it scary?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put out there. It's a lot to try to generate interest and produce a product that is of service to people. And I really want to be the best I can, and produce a great product and help my students to thrive. So, in terms of the emotions getting here, I think it's what I have to offer the world in a way. I feel that, and that took some introspection to get there. I feel I have this to offer, and I really hope that it works. We'll see. It's always one of those things.
I think the community is going to rally around you. They appreciated your authenticity and your genuineness. We saw in the last interviews your passion for education. You loved working with kids. And one of the challenging parts, if memory serves correct, and the memory's on point here, one of the challenging parts for you with getting out of teaching at Albemarle County Public Schools at the high school level was your interaction with the kids and how much you were going to miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Guiding impressionable minds and help shaping those minds into adulthood,
right,
which is what teachers do here.
Right.
You have followed that passion into a small business, Zeta Math Tutoring. I'm on the website, Zeta, Z-E-T-A, mathtutoring.com. I love it. You outline everything that you are offering here. Talk to us about how your skill set now has to develop. You're very much not just in the education business, but in some ways you're in the sales business.
That's right. And I have my wife's a social media manager for UVA Health, so that's helpful. She's been huge. She's such a guide.
She got you to this point.
Yeah, she did. She's I don't know. I'd be lost without her. I'll be honest. It'll be a team effort. With I'll be producing things and managing things, and I'll always have her to rely upon. So I'm very happy for that.
How can folks work alongside you? Can it happen in schools and houses and public spaces? Where's it done?
Yeah, so I would tutor out of the library and in clients' homes or in my own home at this point. If it grows to the point where I can get an office, I'll get an office. I'm not there yet, but I'm happy to. There's plenty of public space available in the libraries. You can sign out a private room, and so that's the plan for now.
I think I'll throw this to you. I think there is not a more important or impactful time for tutors than right now. We're seeing, and I'll throw it to you. You know this better than anyone. I think we're seeing a gap. Public, private, homeschooling, a gap in performance, a gap in absorbing curriculum content. One of the reasons that gap is being caused, I think, is screen time. More distractions than ever, potentially, for our youth as they learn. Put all this in perspective and how you saw a potential niche that you could fill.
Sure. So, in regards to public versus private schools, it's the public schools are facing a lot of different challenges, right? They're facing the need to reduce the socioeconomic gap, the achievement level between kids of different socioeconomic statuses. They're trying new approaches. They've upended the grading systems, and it's to try to address these issues. It's put teachers in the room in difficult positions. So they're no longer kids sign up for whatever class they want. There's not any sorting. So teachers have to work with a wide variety of skill sets in the room. There's kids that are way behind. There's kids that are way ahead, and somehow they have to reach all those kids, and it's almost an impossible task. I felt that way, 2 years ago when I was teaching the year after we came back from the pandemic. I felt it was very difficult to reach all my kids and give them what they need. Just because there is no sorting anymore.
Tell us what sorting is.
So if we say, okay, these are where these kids are at. Let's put them all in the same room and and try to help them there. These are where, it's looking at the ability levels of kids before they get placed in a classroom and try to match them together so that the teacher can they can differentiate, right? So like, if I have kids of all levels in my room, I've got kids that, if at any level I'm talking, I've got kids that will not understand me and kids that are way above they're way ahead of me. So for instance, like there's a lot of students in, say, geometry that have a lot of trouble reading the diagram. Like that, and truly it is a hard thing, like to make sense of it. And there's some kids that's not a problem for at all. Like they can read the diagram, understand what all the notation means, understand what the question's asking, and they can solve the question without very much support. So if you put all that in one room, you're stuck with not helping anyone in a way. It's like, okay, I can lean into the kids that really have trouble reading the diagram. It's very difficult, and I think a lot of teachers are feeling that the difficulty of not allowing differentiation through structure, right? I mean, if we're talking about sorting, it's a structural way to allow differentiation, and I understand that it's it's political, right? There's a lot of reasons why they've stopped sorting. I don't think it's good for anyone, but
you're saying sorting should be still happening.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's just good for everyone. I mean, there should be teacher recommendations for what classes kids should go into. It should be informed. Like a 7th grader shouldn't be taking algebra if they failed pre-algebra the previous year. Right now they can, and it's as we have social promotion and whatnot. But it's just there should be some limits to and some input from the teachers as to where students should go next. And right now that's not happening. So it puts teachers in a tough position. But yeah, going from that, obviously that's not happening in the private schools. And
you're saying sorting is happening.
Either it's so small that it's not, or it is happening just by virtue of who's attending, right? And
meaning, if I'm unpacking that, affording the tuition to the school, and if you're able to afford
perhaps,
potentially
yeah,
the tuition per school, maybe there's resources in the household that will yield academic success, which could in turn yield a competitive and academically minded student body.
It pretty much. I mean, in some private schools, obviously, there's tests to get into them and all that too. But I don't know. I don't want to overgeneralize that. It's clear that, I mean, yeah, that socioeconomic SES is still the best predictor of student success. That's
socioeconomic status.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best predictor. It's still the best predictor. It's gotten to be a better predictor actually over the last 20 years.
What does that mean? The data shows?
Yeah, Reardon out of Stanford. As an education professor out of Stanford, showed that SES is now a better predictor than it was 20 years ago of student success. I mean, it's something, and that's a long-term trend that the schools are trying to address, and we've known about it for a very long time, and we haven't been successful as of yet. And I don't know what to say about that. It's too bad. I mean, but I feel like I'm getting off the track, though.
No. I'm following your lead.
Okay.
I'll throw this to you. Here's a challenging question. Probably the most challenging question I'll throw to you today.
Yeah.
You get into education to help the next generation, maybe the generation after that, help influence their maturation.
Yeah.
And where they go.
Yeah.
Professionally, potentially. When you got into education, I would imagine when you first started teaching, you wanted to improve students of all socioeconomic statuses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Here's a
right.
challenging question.
Right.
The for-profit tutoring model
right.
may not necessarily cater to the entire socio-economic spectrum of students. Your model caters to the students whose parents can afford your rates.
Sure, right.
How do you navigate that potential catch-22?
It's a tough one. I mean, and that is part of the issue, I guess. I'd be contributing to it, but on an individual level, I don't know what I can do to solve the global issues. To be honest, I want to see everyone do better. I want to see everyone become an educated person.
I respect that, and you feel this is your greatest path to control and influence.
Right. Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I feel like it's like. Well, I can't, any individual can't really take on these long-term trends or but I can help individuals, right? And I can help, kids that come to me, and I want to help them to be better, and I can hopefully make people, more knowledgeable and help them to be successful. And just as someone starting out, my resources are my resources. So I have to, we'll see what happens in 5 years, I guess, in terms of what I could do to help a broader group of kids. But for now, it's tough. I mean, what can any one individual do, right? So
I respect that. John Blair watching. He's got a student in the Albemarle County school system.
Yeah.
Son. He says, "Thank you to Mr. Munkacsy for taking a risk in order to make Albemarle County a better place for all of us." John, we appreciate you watching the program. Viewers and listeners, you can offer perspective and questions for Bill. Just put them in the feed. This question came in yesterday when we let folks know you were coming on the show. Asked Bill to give kind of a State of the Union for Albemarle County school system right now.
Ooh, I wish I had more insight into the right now. I don't think things have changed too much from last year. I think maybe things have improved in slight ways. The radical changes, I'd say, the radical grade changes that went into effect are still going. I don't think they're helping students. I don't think it's like helping student achievement overall, but I don't know if it's hurting terribly either. I don't think it's good. I think in the end it's not good. I hear from fellow teachers and parents there's behavior issues. There's kids skipping. There's still no tardy policy. Attendance went to if you get 10 absences, you automatically fail, but there's buybacks. I think it's good that they're starting to consequence it for sure. I hear there's still drug issues in the schools, and I think I hope that they can renorm. I really do. And
renorm is what, 2019?
Yeah. Well, I hope they can renorm into more appropriate behavior for the kids. I think the cell phone, from what I understand, the cell phone policy was effective in the beginning and it kind of ended in a bust. That happens a lot in schools. Like you start off really strong and then things start to fall apart towards the end of the year. And I hope they can renorm. I don't think cell phones should be away during class time. They should not be out. Kids need to be in class. They shouldn't be in the hallways. Smelling marijuana in schools is just unacceptable. I mean, straight up. And is
that common?
From what I understand, yeah. And I mean, I smelled it a lot 2 years ago. I'll put it that way. From my own experience, yeah, I smelled it more times in that year than I did my entire career. And I don't know. I think mental health is a big issue among teens in general across the nation. It's another one of those like, well, what's the causes? Why are we seeing such an uptake? Is it because people are self-reporting it? Is it an actual issue? I think it is an actual issue. But that's another issue school faces. In terms of successes, I hear achievements up in Albemarle High School. I'm not sure about the other high schools.
Is that SOL based?
SOL based, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's great. I still am very worried about the grading policy and not having deadlines. I don't think that's good for kids. So currently, kids can retake a test as much as they want. If they don't complete a test on time, there's not really an enforcement mechanism to like say, okay, you have to have it done this week, or it's going to be a 0 in the grade book or a 50% in the grade book. They can always take the test later. And I think it makes it really hard for teachers. And I don't think it's doing the kids any service at all. I really don't. I don't think that should be the norm. And I just feel that's just too bad. I think reasonable deadlines are good for kids. It adds structure. It helps the teachers to keep everyone on track and moving forward. It's very difficult to have kids in every single different place in the curriculum retaking tests from the entire year. I mean, like some kid might have missed 5 tests, and that happened to me in multiple times in the year I was teaching last year. And they decide in April that they want to pass, so they start retaking their tests or taking them for the first time, and it's almost like there's so much pressure to pass a kid. I don't think they're learning much from that. I think in the end they check a box. They can get the lowest grade they can get is a 50 on it anyway. So it's very easy to get a C, in the class, or a D. It's extremely easy. You don't have to know much. And I just think that's just too bad. I think like the norm should be deadlines. I think that if we want to offer individual kids the ability to make up work that they missed in the past, that should be on an individual basis, and not the norm. I don't think it's good. Because there's always students who mess up maybe in the first part of the year, and you can hold that carrot out to them, like, okay, we can make this work up if you start changing your behavior now, and then okay, I see you've done really well. Now we can, make up that test and bring your grade up a bit, and that's a great carrot to hold out to a kid, and it adds behavioral cohesion to what you're doing in the room. But just to have the policy be, well, you just take it when you want to take it, in effect, and the kids know this, I think it's not helpful to anyone. So that worries me. I don't like the no grading of homework. I don't know, I know like AI is taking over in terms of like writing assignments. I don't know what to do about that. I'm glad I'm not an English teacher. That's a real conundrum, but I still think.
How is an English teacher going to manage that? Like basically this came up when I was in college at UVA. Yeah. I took Lou Bloomfield's, and I've said this on previous shows. Lou Bloomfield had a How Things Works physics class, and I took it first semester of first year and then second semester of first year. And he gave you a list of like 200 topics, and it was like sailboating or windsurfing. Wow. And first semester first year I did a term paper which was like 70% of your grade on sailboating, and I got an A on the paper. And then second semester of first year I took his second class to fill the physics requirement, and he gives us the same list of topics to write the term paper on as the first semester. And instead of sailboating first semester, I did windsurfing. And my mindset was, I'm working smart, not hard.
Right.
And then I went into Microsoft Word, and I did find and replace sailboating with windsurfing.
Right, pretty much the same, right?
Pretty much, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same
thing. Yeah. And then, but here's the thing, and showing some vulnerability here. It got flagged, my term paper, by Professor Bloomfield's
His database. Right?
He had a database. He had a customary. You know more about this than I did. A proprietary software that he developed that was able to determine the percentage of words in an essay and whether or not they were duplicated in previous essays that were submitted into his database.
Right.
And he immediately knew.
And I said the same paper.
Right. And I said, Professor Bloomfield, you gave us this option last semester and this option this semester. I thought life was about working smart and not hard. And Professor Bloomfield goes,
did he believe?
You get an A on the paper, and then the syllabus the next year with the options for the term papers, they were better vetted.
Right.
They were better vetted.
Right.
But this goes to the point that if you give the student an opportunity to cut corners, the student is going to cut corners.
Absolutely, they will. Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't, you can tell the AI to write it as a third grader if you want it to, or you can tell the AI to make some mistakes. I mean, it will. So, I mean.
And that was 20 years ago, my story. So
exactly.
how the hell is the teacher going to.
I think you have to write essays in class, which is a real issue.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, or make them write, take away the internet somehow, or monitor their screens. I don't know. That's tough. They have to.
I think you just came up with the answer. I think it's the essay in class,
which is too bad. Most English classes, the majority of times for discussion or talking about different parts of the reading. You synthesize all that. You go home. You think about the themes of the book, say, and then you write a persuasive essay or an essay on it. And now you have to do it all in class because you can't. I don't think there's any way around it, to be honest. I don't know what the colleges are doing. I
got to ask you about that.
I hear it's an issue. So.
The college news over the last couple of weeks was a Supreme Court decision of no more affirmative action when it comes to admissions.
Right.
What do you make of that news? I mean, it seems like an already homogenous University of Virginia student body from a race and socioeconomic standpoint is going to become much more homogenous and much more wealthy.
Yeah, probably,
Is that the read that you're seeing?
I think that's probably what will happen. I mean, that's kind of unfortunate. I don't know. I don't know the effects on it. Probably it's not good. They probably will also, look for ways to do their best, to keep it diverse. But I'm not sure. I don't know the fallout for that, I'll be honest with you.
Respect. Yeah. This question's coming from Waynesboro. Kevin Yancey says, the role of the parents. What are the roles of the parents in today's educational ecosystem, and how should they improve or change? That's a great question.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's probably the most important factor in a kid's life, obviously, is their parents, right? It's the environment that they're in. It's their access to resources. It's their set of values that is bestowed upon them or lived out in a way, right? Like parents live out their values, and kids see that and live out those values with those parents, right? And maybe even if it's not explicitly said, is what I'm trying to say. It is the biggest environment, right? The most consistent environment for the kids, right? It's super important, right? Parents are, in the end, who can regulate their kids' behavior, right? It's very difficult for the schools to do anything at this point. It feels that way to me. It's really, there's. I don't know. I feel like the administrators feel like their hands are tied, and there's a lot of competing goals. In terms of, they want to reduce suspensions, is what I'm trying to say, and maybe that's a good thing to do because having kids out of school is not necessarily good either. But you have to also maintain an environment that's conducive to learning.
Accountability.
And accountability, you have to do that too. And maybe it's gone too far one way where, they're not holding kids accountable enough. I think that is the state of things.
I love when this guy comes on the show. This guy is an interviewer's dream. He's got a take on a lot of stuff, and it's a take based on experience. Questions are coming in very fast from parents.
Great. That's great.
John on LinkedIn says, every He says, there's not a single career that I am aware of that does not have deadlines. Can Mr. Munkacsy explain the philosophy behind the no deadline policy?
So it's a mastery approach. So the goal of a class is to this is the philosophy. I'm not advocating. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and explain the other side. The goal is for a student to learn these set of skills in an algebra class. Talk about lines, equation of a line, solving equations, solving multi-step. There's a list of things. That's the goal, right? We're going to meet these standards, and it shouldn't matter when they meet these standards, right? It should matter that they've met the standard and can show evidence of that. That's the argument. The problems with that are it's just really difficult for teachers to implement in any way, and there was no training on it. It's like, okay, students can be wherever they are. That's where they are. And how. So without deadlines, it's very difficult to keep up with where the students actually are and maintain a courses going forward, the course going forward. So that is the rationale, right? So it's about the student learning, but there is a deadline. That's the weird thing, right? It's the end of the semester or the end of the year. There is a deadline because they can't keep going, ad infinitum, right? They have to actually. So what happens is they push it back, because why have to learn it now? I'll learn it later. I'll learn it tomorrow, right? And that just keeps snowballing, and you get to the end of the year, and some students have turned in. I had a student who hadn't done a single test and wanted to pass the class. Asked me how to. That was something.
Did he pass?
No.
Okay.
I put my foot down.
Would other teachers have passed the student?
This particular student was happening in all that particular student's classes, and they passed all but mine. But I was also on the way out. There's a lot of pressure to pass kids. There's a lot of pressure.
So a student, did no test and no classes over the course of an entire semester, and got passed in all the classes except for your class.
The academic classes, yeah.
All the academic classes except for yours. And the reason you felt reassured in doing this was not because you were doing the right thing, but instead because you were retiring from the public school system.
It was the right thing to do. No, it was the right thing to do. Yeah,
okay.
But I was put under a lot of pressure to. I just said no. I'm only allowing students who have one or two tests left to retake, which seems insane to me anyway. And I'm not allowing students. I just made that my blanket policy, and I just said I'm not allowing it.
What does a lot of pressure mean?
Unpack constant that. Emails. Did you do this? Did you contact the parent? Did you do this? Did you do this? From the counselors, from admin, maybe not in that case, but it's really difficult to fail a kid. You have to really dot your I's and cross your T's. Even though it's probably better for the kid, right? It's probably better that they retake the class, right? I mean, it's just
100% better for the kid.
It's way better, but it puts them behind and all that, and graduation rates, and competing priorities, right?
He's talking social promotion here.
Well, in high school it shouldn't be, but it is. There are kids that don't show up at all, and they fail, but there's competing priorities, what I'm saying, in terms of education, right? There's the numbers game that the schools play, and it doesn't always align with what's best for the individual kid, in my opinion.
Folks are asking on the feed here, who was offering or putting the pressure on you to pass the kid?
I'm not going to name names, but no, I'm not. There was pressure. I'll put it that way.
It was people above you in the professional totem pole. Is that fair?
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, there's a district-wide pressure, right? There's a pressure. There's a cultural pressure, right? As a teacher, it's like you failed, right? That's the mentality, right?
Even though the student is refusing to take tests,
right? Or just hasn't. You failed that kid. And maybe I had, and that's something I wrestle with, right? I mean, it's That's the mentality. That's the cultural. I mean, and that's not a bad thing, right? It's not bad that teachers take ownership, but it's
well. Why would you wrestle in that scenario you just gave with you potentially personally failing the kid? If the kid is refusing to take the test at all, is it because you feel you didn't inspire the kid to take the test?
Maybe there was something at some point I could have done, right? And there's always going to be that. You're never going to be perfect, and of course you're never going to be perfect, but you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's the standard a lot of people hold themselves to, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of. I felt in that case it was better for the kid, right?
You made the right decision.
That they retake the class.
Yeah.
And that was my, at that point, that's what I came to. But I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure, and it's not always explicit. There is explicit pressure too, but it's not always explicit that the need to pass kids. So yeah.
So much to cover. We love interviewing with this guy. There's a TikTok and Instagram trend. The two most influential social media platforms for Gen Zers and younger are TikTok and Instagram. So we're talking mid to late 20s and younger. Instagram and TikTok are hugely influential. This is very concerning. The TikTok trend has the hashtag lazy girl jobs. And the whole concept behind the viral trend on TikTok and Instagram, hashtag #LazyGirlJobs, is to take jobs that are jobs you can work remotely, jobs that don't have much stress or anxiety associated to them, jobs that are menial jobs, remote jobs. And the whole concept is do as little at work. This is hashtag #LazyGirlJobs. All the viewers and listeners can look into it. Do as little as work possible, coast at work, so you have quality of life outside of work, where you can do things that you may find more fruitful.
Right.
The basis of this trend is the teenager to the mid-20s is so opposed to having any kind of anxiety in their life of any kind.
Right.
That they don't even want that anxiety in a professional setting and are willing to take a financial sacrifice to avoid anxiety. Here's what I'm going to throw to you. Anxiety and the next generation, how you're seeing them manage it. Is anxiety even prevalent in that next generation's life? And the follow-up is this. From my standpoint, every time I professionally or personally have gained, I had to go through a tremendously anxiety-ridden period of time.
Right, sure.
But those trials led to tribulations.
Right.
Whole thing to you on that.
Yeah. Right. I think avoiding things is anxiety producing, right? Like once you actually tackle whatever it is, then it starts to become more okay. You have to face those snakes, right? That are hard to face, whatever it is. And just avoiding things isn't I don't think it's any good at all. I think kids need to be taught to manage reasonable anxiety or reasonable stress. I think clearly it's not working. I mean, the CDC said 60% of teenage girls or something like that reports, what is it?
Body images?
No, persistent sadness and hopelessness. 60% of teenage girls report, it's a self-report, report having persistent sadness and hopelessness. I mean, and it's like in the foregoing of responsibility and the foregoing of a meaningful path. Like, my meaningful path is to not do anything. I mean, do you think that's going to... I just don't really buy it. I don't think that's going to help your anxiety. I think your anxiety is going to be helped by learning to face, the small bits of anxiety and or facing deadlines and facing reasonable expectations upon you and rising to them, right? And then transcending that, right? Like, and then you're able to, like you said, to grow almost, you need to face these things and yeah. So,
I got more for you.
Yeah.
This question has just come in the feed from Miss Costello. She says, can you speak to the pressures on teachers with regard to the achievement gap?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally in focus at Albemarle County. There's no doubt. And for good reason, right? I mean, it's a huge issue. It's a huge nationwide issue. It's an issue particularly in liberal college towns. I mean, the gap's larger in liberal college towns than the average, I'll put it that way. Black students in Albemarle County do worse than Fluvanna County. They do worse than Greene. The black student populations in Greene and Fluvanna. I mean, that's true on the state level too. Black students in Albemarle do worse than the average across the state. It's an issue that we have to face. I feel that we've been trying to do that for 20 years, and it hasn't been very successful. I'm not sure what's blocking it. I don't think the grading changes were to try to address this, right? In a certain sense, not suspending kids, and that's another way to try to address this. I don't know if it's working. I don't think it is, and I don't think it's helping anyone not holding kids to high standards, right? I think we need to hold them to high standards. I think we need to expect deadlines just for the sanity of the consistency of the room, the classroom, and I think it helps kids manage their workload. I mean, it's like you have infinite time or you have a deadline. Well, you actually do have a deadline, but it's much better to have it in chunks rather than, okay, you have to have everything in by June. Right. I don't think it helps kids manage it. I don't think you can learn that way. I mean, I think you need to have reasonable deadlines. You can have the exception in that system, and there should be a way to have the exception to offer kids a carrot to get them back on track, and it should be that way. But I don't think this is helping. I don't think 50% minimum is helping. I think I don't think not grading homework is helping. I think it helps kids to do their homework or even do their formative assessments in class, their classwork. If you don't trust homework anymore because of AI, fair enough. At least you can grade their classwork, and or participation in a language class, or their participation. Right now, you can't grade any of that in their discussions. It's all considered form anyway. So
there's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what the county can do to address this persistent issue. It's a real issue.
Well, what they could do, I'll throw this to you, and I believe she is watching the program right now, or maybe both the candidates for the at-large seat are watching right now. I know a handful of school board candidates are watching. Do active teachers follow school board races? And are active teachers aware of what candidates are saying and their platforms and how it could change or not change hallways and classrooms?
I think certainly some are. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of teachers, who just want to do their job. They don't want to get involved in politics. They don't want to get involved in controversy, and bless them for it. They just want to be able to teach and hopefully make a difference in kids' lives, right?
That was not you.
Well, I mean, that was me for a number of years.
Okay, because toward the end you were fighting for a union.
That's true.
For Albemarle County teachers.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were in the front lines.
I was really wanting that. I came from California. I taught in California for 2 years at Los Angeles Unified School District, and we had a very strong union. I think it's to the benefit of teachers. I think it's to the benefit of students. I think it gives teachers a voice, right? We have no seat at the table, I feel like. Decisions just come, and we have no seat at the table. We need a seat at the table. And whatever can make that happen, I support. I think, it's like, it's the professionals in the front lines that have to assimilate all this. They have to have some buy-in. They have to feel like their voices are heard. And they're you take the teaching body. There's opinions on all kinds of things, of course. It's large, and no one really knows what the best thing to do is, right? But still, teachers need to have that voice, and they probably know better than people that are outside of the classroom. I think. I mean, students should have a voice too, of course. But
Heather Walker watching the program, a retired teacher, her daughter, an active teacher here locally. She says there were COVID funds sent to Charlottesville and other schools for the purpose of catching kids up that fell behind during the pandemic.
Yeah.
She asks a very straightforward question.
Yeah.
Where and how were those funds spent?
I think I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. I think there was some that we brought in tutors to push into classrooms. That wasn't through those funds though. I'm not sure how they spent that money. It's hard, but it's hard to catch kids up. I'll put it that way. Once it's very difficult. Once a kid gets behind, it seems to persist. And so some kids during the virtual learning part did fine. They learned everything they would have learned, and there's a bunch of kids who did not, right? And it's really hard to catch up with those kids that learned everything they would have learned in the classroom. It's very difficult. It's going to be years, I think, before we recover the achievement or the attainment that we were at, because it's just very difficult. It's very difficult to recover that. Not that they shouldn't try. I don't know particularly how they spent the money though.
More questions for Bill. He's a liked guy here. This question is a challenging one. What's the role of school vouchers, and should parents have money allocated from the Commonwealth for decision making on where their kids go to school or not?
I don't know what should happen.
They trust your opinion. That's why they're asking.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know the relevant research on it. I'll be honest. I've worked in Virginia and I've worked in California. They don't have vouchers in either. I hear rumblings. I don't know. I don't know the relevant research. I don't know. It might improve schools. It might help to create. At least allows parents to have say in where their kids go. That's probably a good thing, but I don't know if it's good overall. Does it mean that the public schools themselves get underfunded? I don't know. I believe in public education. I feel that it's an institution that we should protect. I think everyone should have access to it. The possibility of becoming an educated person, it's such an attainment, right? Like that's a high goal. But I really want that for everyone. To be able to enjoy learning, enjoy see marvel in the world. I think that all happens through knowledge and education. So I don't know what's best. I'll put it that way.
I respect that. I respect that.
Yeah.
This question's come in, and this came in before the show started, from yesterday when we announced that you were coming on. What are Bill's thoughts on Forward Albemarle, the lobbying group?
I don't know who they are.
Okay, there we go.
Who's Forward Albemarle?
Forward Albemarle. Folks can find them online, forwardalbemarle.org, a lobbying group started by Sarah K. Harris, and it's teachers and parents lobbying for a more progressive school system. A lot of their lobbying efforts have been centered around unionization and or the students that identify, here's an example, students that identify as a different sex in school, and conversations that are had between the student and teachers or folks that are in the school, having those conversations remain in the school and not necessarily back to the parents. Forward Albemarle is very much in favor of having those conversations stay in the classrooms and the hallways, as opposed to being passed back along to the parents in the households.
Mm-hmm.
That's an example.
Sure.
The union example is one that I mentioned.
Right.
So that's the question that I was throwing to you about Forward Albemarle. The other one that was thrown to you, what do teachers need the most right now?
Gosh, what do teachers need the most? I mean, in regards to Forward Albemarle, I mean, I just feel parents are the most important thing in a kid's life. It's really hard to. I mean, I don't know. I guess I had some great parents. I don't know.
Me too.
You know?
Same.
So
Same.
I don't know. You know, I don't.
We were the lucky ones.
Yeah, exactly. I had some great parents. So,
I had this conversation with
a
friend
know.
that's watching.
I guess there's some bad parents out there.
How about this one? I had this conversation with a friend that's watching the program right now, who's got ties to South Africa, who also had great parents.
Right.
But he says you have no idea how fortunate you are that the sperm and the egg that created you met in the United States.
Right.
Versus the sperm and an egg meeting in a place like, say, South Africa.
Yeah.
He said he's got phenomenal parents.
Right.
But the opportunities there versus the opportunities here are not even comparable.
Not even comparable.
Yeah. He says people don't realize that just having been birthed in this country is a massive advantage over so many other countries in the world.
Right. That's Heidenberg's thrownness principle. We're thrown into our lives. We decide very little, and in every moment we're thrown into it, right? Like who knows why you married who you married? You know, in the end, in the final analysis, who knows why? You were thrown into that in a certain sense, right? And how do you, you know, there's a lot of collective guilt about, you know, what we were thrown into, in a way, which we had no choice about, right? Our own attractiveness, abilities, height, you know, all these things. We don't choose any of that, you know, and it's a real, you know, it's a real thing, right? And no, we don't know how you know, we barely even think about it, right? In a way,
we take it for granted.
We are where we are. We have to make sense of where we are. It's all we can do, and you know who we are. Who knows why you are the way you are, right? You know, like it's a mix of environment and genetics, maybe. You know, who knows? You're thrown into it, right? You're thrown into your environment. You're thrown into your genetics. I mean, it's something that's an existential problem, right? Heidenberg was an existentialist, and yeah, I mean, it's a real like collective guilt, you know, like for who, you know, being thrown into where you are, you know, how do you pay back your unearned privilege? I don't know. You just do the best you can, right, with what you're given. Absolutely, you do the best you can. You become the best person you can be, right? So, you know, and we're it's great we're here, right? We have more opportunities, more options. But obviously, with the more options, there's a lot of anxiety, right? And you know, I mean, we're seeing that now, right? So, I don't know. There was a question I missed. I forgot the question after the forward. Oh, what do teachers need right now?
Yeah, what do you think teachers need the most with right now? Is it the parental support?
Yeah, I mean, parental support's always great. I love having supportive parents. When I was a teacher, you know, parents I could you know, email and have a good frank conversation with, you know, or you know, whatever it is. I think there needs to be more structure. And a renorming. It's really difficult when it's like we came back and kids didn't really know how to behave anymore. There was new things tried with regards to discipline. The grading policy was really difficult. It was all kind of thrown, you know, and at teachers, and already there was a lot of change. And I think bringing back, you know, more accountability and things for teachers would be good on a policy level. Yeah.
Bill, on fire right now. We'll take a few more questions from the listening and viewing audience, and then we'll highlight Zeta Math Tutoring. I'm looking at his website, ZetaMathTutoring.com. ZetaMathTutoring.com. His email address, ZetaMathTutoring@gmail.com. He's got his digits online for anyone to access. The man has gone from more private to more public right now with his digital footprint.
That's right.
I have noticed this is what the business owner does. Catherine Lochner, watching the program, she ran for school board at one time here in Albemarle County. This is a question that has come in on the value proposition of private schools versus public schools today versus when Bill got into educating students 13 years ago, Grayson and North Downtown.
Right. Gosh, I mean, I think the elementary schools are great, in the end, right? I think it's when you get to middle and high school that there seems to be more maybe it's a better value at that point, which is unfortunate. I hate to say it, but I don't know. I would rather fight to make our public schools better than encourage people to go to private schools. But as a parent, you have to do what you have to do, and you are, again, thrown into this situation. You have to make your best choices for your family and for your kids. Yeah, so I think now it's probably more valuable than it was, 12 years ago. There used to be, they used to have the MESA program and all the other academies. They honors classes meant honors more so than it does now, and that's gone now. Unfortunately, it's a real shame. So,
Zeta Math Tutoring, tell us about it. How can we reach you? What your goals are for the business?
Yeah.
I want to keep the dialogue going with future shows with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the ideal client? Anywhere you want to go.
Oh gosh, the ideal client. I would work with the students where they're at and help them, to be hopefully better at math. Hopefully they will develop tools with which, through math, that they can see phenomena in the world and understand them. That's my goal. I want to know what they know. I want to see where they're at and help them understand whatever it is that they're, lacking in understanding, or whatever. If they don't feel like they're getting enough attention for the teacher or one-on-one support, I'm happy to help in that situation. I'm happy to help extend too. I think I've done many projects in the past. I'm happy to bring those in, project-based learning, and or teach things well beyond whatever they might see in the classroom. I feel like I have a really great skill set. I do know the curriculum backwards and forwards, and sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Jeez.
People seeing you on the show, no problem, no problem.
So in terms of my goals for the business, I really hope it's a good service for the community. In the end, I hope I can serve families and kids and help. And I hope to grow, and we'll see what happens,
Catherine Lochner says middle school needs a great renorming.
Yes.
They have never been structured in any way to teach, mentor students to learn to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, reflective, and embracing becoming young adults. I like that comment from Catherine Lochner. Jennifer's got the comment. We'll be reaching out to Mr. Munkacsy. She says, I notice his prices are $35 for the half hour and $65 for the full hour, which are reasonable for this market. She follows by saying this: does he expect more teachers will follow his suit into tutoring? Because 20 to 25 hour workload at $65 an hour, she says, is certainly a deeper earning income than what the teachers are making in a classroom working longer hours. That's a good question.
Maybe. 20 to 25 hours, that's just, there's still other things you got to do for your business, right? So that's just like research or putting together materials, whatever it is. So it might be 40 hours, but in the end of it, if I had 20 students, or 20 hours a week, it'd probably be more closer to 40 hours. But
I'm sure you've done that. You're a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy as well. I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner here.
Right.
Like, I'm very data driven.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure you've done the numbers. If you had 40 1-hour sessions a week.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And 40 1-hour sessions at 65 a clip.
That would be something.
And you worked 50 weeks. You took 2 weeks off, so you had a vacation. You're looking at a take-home pay that's. Do some quick math here. You're better at math than I do. $130,000.
That would be great. I mean, so there's summers. Kids don't need tutoring over the summer. It's very difficult to get 40 hours a week in tutoring because kids are only available after school. So it's probably not going to be close to that, to be perfectly honest. But yeah. And then there's all the time you have to spend building your business, the money you have to put into it, and all that. So. I don't know. I did do,
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did. I have no doubt that you did.
I'm trying
to build a business.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, you did the right thing. You got to do that.
Right, you have to do it.
So this is a great question that's come in. Go ahead.
Oh, in regards, I don't know. I mean, the teaching, building a business is one thing, right? Teaching, it's just done for you. You just show up, right?
Yeah.
In a certain sense. So I don't know if a lot of teachers will quit or not. So
Gwendolyn Gale Cassidy, we got a Harvard grad giving you a comment here.
Oh, yeah.
She says, as a fellow tutoring service owner, how high in college stats calculus can you tutor? I would love to be able to refer clients to you with these higher levels of math. And I'll tag Bill on this comment so you guys can connect off show.
Sure. Right.
So she wants to know, how high of math level can you teach?
I'm comfortable through calculus. In terms of statistics, I could teach college statistics, 101. Statistics with calculus, I think I need to review a little. To be perfectly honest, I didn't teach that in high school, although I did take a class in it. I'm happy to talk to her outside of
the show. Sure.
Show, yeah.
Here's a great one from Kelsey. Does he do SAT, GED, ACT, and any of the law school training or medical school training?
GREs, SATs, ACTs, absolutely. The LSAT, is that what you're referring to? I mean, I think that's more.
That's not really math.
That's
right?
not really math. Yeah. Medical school. I don't think there is. Is there a math component to that? I'm not sure. I can do math subjects. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. The age range. Does he go as low as elementary school?
Yeah, I'm happy to help with elementary kids. Absolutely. Yeah.
Bill, I think you're going to crush it at this.
Well, I sure hope so.
No, I sincerely mean this. I think I think this is my prediction of what's going to happen. You're going to get a handful of clients right away. You'll get positive responses from you coming on this show. I would love to have you on future shows.
Absolutely, yeah.
And once the parents get around you, they are going to become your biggest evangelists and refer you and your business and your services to other parents that they know. And I think your business is going to grow like wildfire to the point where then you're going to have this predicament. I only have so many hours in my day.
Yep.
Because you're essentially trying to monetize time.
Yeah,
it's not like you're monetizing widgets that can sit on a shelf and be dropped in the mail.
That's right.
And you have a finite amount of time.
That's right.
So you can either raise your rates, which could price you out of the market, or you can find Bill 2.0 and funnel some of that business from Bill 1.0 to Bill 2.0 and scrape a percentage off for yourself. And then you start going from hobby business and lifestyle business to a company.
Right. We'll see what happens.
You give any thought to that?
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, it's teaching is such a personal thing, and like all teachers have whatever they have to offer, right? And it's I think it's hard to train teachers. I'll be honest. Teachers become teachers. And I really believe that. And it's through trial and error but they, it's hard to and people have what they have, right? So, anyway, it would be great. I haven't allowed myself to envision
to put the cart before the horse.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally get it.
All that,
Totally get it.
So.
Catherine Lochner says there's a ton of math on nursing school entrance exams.
Interesting.
So that is a nursing school requires a ton of math, she says. That's a demographic that he should consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gwendolyn, who's in the business, says any math that is on the MCAT is fundamental. Arithmetic, algebra, and trig.
Okay.
There's absolutely no calculus on the MCAT.
Right. Yeah.
And she says LSAT is only logic and may have very basic math to test logic.
Right, sure.
So good stuff right there from Gwendolyn. More comments than I can get to. I am mindful of his time. We're an hour and change in. We will invite him back to the show, his schedule permitting. I hope when I invite him back, he responds by like, I'm booked out 3 weeks from now. Can we possibly do this next month? That's what I want it to be.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll be so happy.
Thank you, Jerry.
Our pleasure. Viewers and listeners, thank you for watching. This guy is one of the great people in this Central Virginia community that we love to champion and celebrate. One of the truly good guys in this community. 2 items that I want to get to you, which we'll highlight on tomorrow's show. There's some scuttlebutt that's circulating on social media that the WaWa is no longer going to materialize on 5th Street at the old Hardee's location. I'm hearing from my sources and my contacts in commercial real estate that deal is in fact still on the table and going forward. WaWa at Hardee's on 5th Street is still in the hopper and moving forward. And I've had a tremendous amount of feedback on the aggressive panhandling and chronic homelessness, which we've covered on the show. A lot of people have been welcoming or encouraging of us to continue talking about aggressive panhandling and chronic homelessness on places like the downtown mall. And we have more solutions we want to relay to you because we know council and supervisors watch the program so we can improve as a community. That's all we're trying to do. For Bill and Judah, my name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love CVille Show. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Dude, you killed it. That was great. Thanks so much.
She's going to tell us when the mics are off and the